Hello everybody, Justin from Playing Board Games here with another list video for your, Thursday entertainment here at Playing Board Games. Today I'm going to be talking about 4 Hemlock Vale cards that surprised me. What this means is that cards that I thought were going to just kind of be fine or okay or, just kind of like there, that overperformed. Doesn't mean the cards are like broken or busted, because in actuality, most of the cards that I thought were going to be broken or busted are actually kind of exactly as I thought they were. All the cards that were great. It's usually the cards that I thought were kind of going to be bad to okay are usually the ones that end up surprising me. So these are 4 cards. I was going to try to do 5, but I couldn't, and I didn't want to stretch it out and just be like, here's Task Force. Task Force is good. I didn't want to add that onto this just because to make it a 5. So we're only doing 4. So let's talk about some Hemlock Vale cards. And let me also write down some time codes, because everyone loves being able to jump through the video when they want to. By the way, like and subscribe helps the channel out. Thank you so much. All right, let's talk about our first one here, which is all thanks to Travis, and that is the Seal of the Elders. So this is a 0 cost, 5 experience event. In the Mystic class, Spell, Pact, Bless, Cursed. Fast, play after a skill test at your location ends in which at least 2 Bless and 2 Curse tokens were revealed. Or it's 2 Curse or 2 Bless tokens were revealed. If 2 Curse tokens were revealed, search your bonded cards for 1 copy of Servant of Brass and put into play. If 2 Bless tokens were revealed, search your bonded cards for Keeper of the Key and put into play. If 2 Curse and 2 Bless tokens were revealed, do both instead. Remove Seal of the Elder Signs from the game. To talk about the boys, I got the boys here too. We got Keeper of the Key. This is the Bless token one. When the Bless token is revealed during a skill test at your location, deal 1 horror to Keeper of the Key and discover one clue your location or connecting location. When Keeper of the Key would leave play, set it aside out of play. 4 horror on it, so you can do it 4 times, or can also soak horror for you. Servant of Brass is the one that has now 4 damage. It can soak 4 damage for you, or you can activate its ability 4 times, which is whenever a curse token is revealed during a skill test at your location, deal 1 damage to Servant of Brass and 2 damage to an enemy or location or connecting location. So, what made me... I thought this card was actually going to be like pretty... kind of just like more meme-y fun. And while I do think that this card does live in a world that is more meme-y fun, it actually, I think, is surprisingly doable to pull off, to get both of them out in a Bless Curse deck, like a paradoxical deck, right? This isn't something that, like, you're gonna just, like, if you're playing Tempt Fate, is going to get there, but like if you're playing Kohaku, if you're playing Father Mateo plays Paradoxical very well. Basically, if you're playing like any Mystic who has access to Bless and Curse cards, odds are that you can build a deck that probably is going to trigger this more often than you think. And with that said, even the worst case scenario of only getting one of them out is actually also pretty nice, because the value on them is quite incidental, and it's also pretty good value. It's 4 clues or 8 damage, and I think that's a dividing line of 4 clues or 8 damage is kind of huge, because if we look at Keeper of the Key, 1 clue fast as like a reaction for free is a very nice thing. And earlier on in ARKHAM's lifespan, the the Servant of Brass would just do a 1 damage, and that's not good enough. I think at this point now, rightfully so, there is this logic that 1 free clue is equal to 2 free damage, and I think that is pretty legit. Now, this doesn't mean cards like Agency Backup are bad, because Agency Backup actually is like a very good impression of the Seal of the Elders, because they're both 5 experience. 1 costs 7 resources and 1 is 0, but Seal of the Elders makes up for that by the fact that you need to jump through a big hoop to get the same value out of it. Do I think that Seal of the Elders probably could have been like 4 experience? I think so. 5 is, I think, it's high, but you're also in the Mystic class where you can, like, reduce your experience cost on other things and then just put this into your deck as well. But I think that, like, even on, if you look at the half value, it's going to do just a lot of passive thing in a deck that is going to get there. I don't think this card is, like, bonkers or, like, crazy strong, but the amount of value that I saw Travis eke out of this card was kind of actually very surprising for me, which is why it's in the video, because it did actually surprise me. Travis does that a lot, though. Brent and Travis, they take a lot of cards, and I'm just like, they're really impressive when I see them play them. and then other times where either I try or someone else does, I don't get the same results. A lot of that is also because, you know, there is some sort of variance to this. But if you build a deck that is like going hard on Paradoxical, I don't see why you won't be able to hit this. You need to you want to be playing like Olive, some Favors, some Kohaku, obviously with his signature does this really well. But I thought this card was going to be like pretty like not great. And I think it's actually kind of good to great in the right deck. So Seal of the Elders is my first card that surprised me from the Feast of Hemlock Vale. On to our next one here. We got a Thorough Inquiry. Whew, I can't talk today. 2 cost, I mean, can I ever talk? Let's be real. This is a 2-cost event. It's an insight and double. As additional cost to play Thorough Inquiry, spend an action. Investigate your location, draw a combined total of 5 cards. You decide how many cards each investigator draws. So this card commits for great icons, which is what this kind of like flagged for me when I was first talking about it. It was like worst case scenario. You can just commit it for a Perception or a Manual decks that doesn't replace itself. And that's like a pretty alright floor for a card to have. But this card, I look at this card now kind of like a staple. Not in the sense that I'm going to be playing it in every deck, but like this card is probably going to be a forever one of for the foreseeable future until either I get sick of it or something else comes out to replace it. But what this card does is it gives insane card draw if needed to whoever may need it as a panic button. And worst case scenario, again, going back to the icons of the 2-book or 2-foot, or in a pinch, a brain or a fist, means that this card is like always active. And it always is going to help. And it's actually one of those cards that doesn't feel bad to commit if you are winning the game. So like this is kind of like some mitigation for burst card draw if someone on your team might need it. The additional actions, yeah, it's noticeable, but there's always that moment when there's either the first turn, it's like, oh, our mulligans are bad, or like 3 turns in, it's kind of quiet, and you're like, okay, does anyone need anything? Because we're kind of we're kind of lacking right now. Thorough Inquiry does that job really well. Like I said, this is like, for me, I thought this card was just going to be okay. I think it reads really well. It reads really well, but I think it actually plays better than it reads. So that's why, as I said, it's kind of like a forever staple for me right now. It's my forever one of. The card that, if I'm looking for a nice, easy one of to put in my deck, I probably wouldn't play 2 unless the deck's like calling for this kind of thing, or like is able to synergize with it in some way beyond just playing the card. But on just as like, if I need that last card in my deck and Thorough Inquiry is not there, I'm probably going to be throwing this in because it's just like a great panic button, and it's also just like great icons if you don't need it. So this is another one that has surprised me after playing with these cards for a little bit. Like seriously, it's been in a lot of my decks. It's usually just a one of, and I'm always happy to see it. Even if it's just icons. Even if it's just icons, it means that I'm going to pass a foot test in the Mythos phase, which is huge. I can evade an enemy that I need to evade if I'm alone, or like it's just a good card. It's just like better than I thought it was going to be. Notably, this isn't a video of the cards that I was wrong about. I'm going to wait for a year to get more time with that. So there's nothing like that coming up in here. All right, on to our next card. We have Hunting Jacket. So this is a survivor card, 2 costs, 2 experience, takes up the body slot. It's an item and a clothing, commits for a foot. Soaks for 2 and 2. As a lightning bolt, exhaust Hunting Jacket, choose one non-weakness card in your hand and attach it face down to Hunting Jacket, max 3 cards attached. Then, gain 1 resource for each attached card. When Hunting Jacket is defeated, draw each attached card. Okay, so when I first read this card, I was like, yeah, it's good. This is a good card. It's going to give you great resource generation. It's really nice for the survivor class. It doesn't really, like, I think, have notable synergy with the survivors, at least not yet. Maybe this is some sort of sign for a hand-size survivor coming out in the next cycle. Like, that could be a thing. The survivor in the next cycle could be hand-size focused, because there's kind of been lots of drops and inklings of that in the last little bit. But with that said, when I played it, it kind of just blew me away. Because you actually don't lose anything, and you just get a crap ton of money. If you trigger it twice, because it's fast, right? You're basically just like putting your cards on layaway to get so much money in the Survivor class. Survivors, they have like Take Heart. Is that it? To make like burst resources? Though they have nothing left to lose. Nothing left to lose, but nothing left to lose is like a replacement resource. Like if you need to get to 6, it's not going to get you to 6. It's going to like give you a thing. But nothing left to lose is good burst. It's very good burst resources. But is that it? Nothing left to lose and Take Heart. That's the only thing I can think of on the top of my head. Maybe I'm missing something. But this is insane resource generation in the Survivor class that also happens to be level 2, so other people can get into it as well. So the first card you put down only gets you 1 resource. You're trading 1 card now for 1 resource, but then your second card, you're trading that for two resources, so now you've gained 3. You've paid back your hunting jacket. You put down the third one on there, and you get 3 resources, meaning that this card has produced you 6 resources, so you are 4 resources ahead, and you're going to get those cards back. So you're actually not losing anything, and it's also soaking for you 2 for 2, which goes into the cost of the card as well for paying back its cost. Because when you play a card like Emergency Cash, 1 action and 1 card is worth 3 resources. So then 2 resources adds to that as well. Because Hunting Jacket, 1 card and 1 action, you want to get 3 resources out of this. But this also is costing 2, so then the math gets a little bit like nitty gritty and all that. Like you can go really deep into it, but this is also like the resources are free. You can do them when you need them. And then the most important thing is I think this, like, you're not losing anything. The cards are going to come back if it's defeated. Not if it's discarded from play. So like if you crypt chill it, you're going to lose the cards. But like just don't. Discard something else instead. You're a survivor. But like you're just going to have this thing soak for you, and then you're going to just be able to get those cards back. I think this card is obviously insane in Tommy Muldoon. I think it's insane in Will York. I think Will York would go to the frickin' moon with this card. But I'm also curious to like explore it in other investigators that are not just main survivors, even though this is some really nice burst resources. I'm trying to just think, if there's any other resource, you know what? Let's go to ARKHAM. Let's just check out, because I'm kind of curious. Cards. Yeah, drawing thin, but that's tabooed now. Madame Lebranche isn't actually burst resource generation. Yeah, it's pretty much, I mean, like, salvage can do it as well. But it's really just, and then unscrupulous loan, which is 3 experience you have to put into it and you can't go under. It's a different kind of burst thing. Unless you're in Survivor and you're exiling it, it's okay. But, like, really, there's not a lot of it. So this does a really nice job of filling that hole that some Survivor decks might need while costing you very little. And again, I think that if there's more things that care about like this, and there's like the empirical hypothesis, if you have no cards in hand, you can turn them into money and get some more cards and then replace them and then do all these things. I think like it's kind of it's very impressive when you actually play with it. I think it reads fine. And I thought the card was good when I first saw it, but I've never been upset when I've played it, so this has been my number1 like Survivor surprise in here, because I think a lot of the cards in Survivor that I was excited about, like Matchbox or Matchbox, I think, not Matchstick, it's Matchbox, it's gotta be, have all been like really nice and fun to play with. Okay, last card we got here is, this is the card that surprised me the most, and that is Chemistry Set. So this is a Seeker level 0 asset, costs 2 resources, commits for a book, takes up the accessory slot, item, tool, science for the traits. As an action, exhaust chemistry set, investigate. If you fail by exactly 2, discard chemistry set. If you succeed by exactly 0, gain 2 resources. If you succeed by exactly 2, draw 1 card. If you succeed by exactly 4, discover 1 additional clue at your location. So this one I was curious about because I went back to look at my initial hype ratings for these cards, and this one I gave a 2.5, which means I thought the card was okay. I think this card's kind of gas. I think it's like really good. It's so easy to get value out of this card. It's incredibly easy. And like for the fail by exactly 2, it means that you don't want to do this on like 2 shroud locations because the auto fail means that this is going to go away. However, with that said, basically that this card is, you don't play around it too much. Like, you could go steady-handed, but I feel like that point you're going into like a deck archetype as opposed to just putting a card into your deck and getting value out of it. But with chemistry set, if you're investigating, what you're basically doing is you're paying 2 resources and 1 action and an accessory slot, which is not too contested, at least at level 0. I think you're going to upgrade out of this card unless you're building around it. But like at level 0, I think this card is like a really good home in a lot of secret decks, and you could replace it with things like Eon Chart if you are going that route. If you're a tryhard, you can go for that. But at level 0, this card is just you're spending 2 resources in an action to basically gamble that you're going to get some value out of it, and it's very easy to get value. The 0, exactly 0, gain 2 resources is pretty sick. Succeed. That's a burning the midnight oil, by the way. If you hit that one once, you've kind of replaced the card, but not actually. If you succeed by exactly 2, you draw 1 card, which is now we're talking. Succeed by exactly 4, discover 1 additional clue your location. So this might sound impossible, but it's actually very easy to succeed by exactly 4 just by committing cards. You just do the math, right? Like if you're playing on standard and your shroud is 4, you can get to if your shroud, let's say your shroud is 3. All right, so you're a seeker. Let's just say you're, I don't know, Kate Winthrop, nice and easy. You have a Shroud of 3, and you have 2 magnifying glasses because you're a tryhard like me, and a Dr. Malone Christopher in play, which means that you are now investigating at 7. So with your chemistry set, you can now decide. You're going to investigate your 7 to 3. You're on standard difficulty, so -2 is the average, which means that if you want to draw a card, you can just do this, right? You can just choose to draw a card. You can instead commit 2 icons worth, putting you up to 9. And then if you get a -2, so you can commit like a perception to this, right? So like these are cards that you're already playing. These are just like good cards that we're just putting chemistry set into the equation, like a good scientist should. So now you commit your perception to this investigate action. You're 9 to 3. You draw the -2. You're now 7 to 3, you grab additional clues. You basically just turn this card into a deduction. Yes, you might draw the -1, you might draw the -3, you might draw a 0. That can happen, but at the same time, you're basically just spending this 1 action to get future value out of this card, potentially. And if you use it every turn, you're actually going to easily get the value out of it. Now, yes, it can go down in value if you see it later in the campaign, but that's actually true, later in the scenario, but that's actually true for a good majority of the cards that you're going to be playing. Because if you draw, like, for example, Hawkeye Folding Camera, or, heck, even like a empirical hypothesis late in the scenario, you're going to be like, where were you ages ago, right? Like, we can't, I don't put the value of when I draw the card into play when I'm building my deck. I just look at like, if this was in my hand on turn 1, would I keep it? And with chemistry set at level 0, yes. That's kind of like how I focus on my level 0 decks. Try to like, these pieces of just getting value are going to do really good for that. Now, of course, I think this goes to the moon if you have steady-handed and you're actually like building around it. And then in that case, you're going to keep it in the deck forever because you're kind of doing what you want to do. But it's very easy to get the value out of this card. I thought it was going to be hard, but I actually now have played this, I think, in like 4 different decks, and I've never regretted it. It's just gravy. It's just gravy. And Travis is playing it in our Hemlock rerun, so I'm hoping that he sees the same gravy. But maybe like me trying to mimic him, he's cursed. It's not going to be the way, and then he's going to think I'm crazy when I say chemistry set is actually pretty dang good. I don't think it's great, but I think it is much better than I thought it was because I gave it a 2.5, which is crazy looking back because I think this card is actually my personal favorite card that I've played with from the set because it's just giving me resources, cards, and clues, which is all I really want to win the game. And you just have to be a little bit smart for the fail by exactly 2, but it's not too hard to do. And as soon as you get a steady handed into your deck, it's really good. Likewise, I think also Lab Coat can be really fun to play with this card. I think the Scientist archetype, I haven't built a deck for it, but I think I want to try because I think it seems really enjoyable. Okay. That's it for today's video. Those were 4 Feast of Hemlock Vale cards that surprised me. I would love to know in the comments, what are some Hemlock Vale cards that have surprised you, that you thought were going to underperform or overperform and have done the opposite? Not in great ways, but just in ways that make you happy or, in some cases, disappointed if a card lets you down. Thank you so much for watching. Huge thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the stream. It means so much to me, and supporting the channel too. Have a great one, and as always, the GGs.